guys, Ron here, and in the previous 2 episodes of the series I went to the zoo to find various animals to use as inspiration, and created Pokemon for my own Middle Eastern inspired region, Asone. I already made the starters, legendaries, regional forms, pseudo-legendaries, and more. Waterio on Twitter even modeled and animated my pseudo-legendary Pokemon Zoroark. Literally the most impressive fan art I've ever gotten. Almost looks like this is gonna be an actual game, which it isn't, if that wasn't so clear. Because it's illegal to make a Pokemon game, and I don't have the time or resources to do so. Just putting that out there. It seems like you guys are excited for the gradual release of Asone, and that's why we're gonna go full swing and finish making all the Pokemon for Asone's Pokedex. We're almost done, but there are a bunch of key Pokemon groups I have to create. One of them is the early root bugs. The bug-type Pokemon you'll be able to find at the beginning of your journey, so let's find some inspiration and finalize these families. So I know that I want 2 separate bug-type families that interact with each other. Since I really need some fighting and dark-type Pokemon in my region, I committed to making a superhero and supervillain Pokemon. Let's make the superhero family first. Now, I want to make a Pokemon that starts out wimpy, and then begins to train and eventually becomes a superhero. Now, what if the family were stick bugs? That's a perfect concept, in my opinion. The first stage will be a stick bug nymph, little cute and noodly Pokemon, but then it will evolve into an upright stick bug Pokemon that begins to train in martial arts. It'll be skinny but more serious. And then the final evolution will be a colorful and buff stick bug, which is a cool juxtaposition on the concept of stick bugs. It'll be bright and colorful, like flashy superheroes, and also some species of stick bugs. Let's go! I mean, it's basically a noodle with eyes, giving it an extra circle to make it look like it's crying. This Pokemon is super anxious. Antennas that look like twigs, as well as on the thorax. Then its skinny legs will also be noodly, very flexible. Just shortening it a bit since it's an unevolved Pokemon, adding the 3 segments, but they will also look like clothes when colored, because its evolved forms have certain cloth-like patterns. I added 1 leaf-like wing to make it look like a branch, but that'll go away in the end because it's a tiny underdeveloped nymph. It'll be green and eventually brown when it evolves. And here is Twug from Twig and Bug, a bug type known as the frail Pokemon. Twug live in a hostile environment. It's almost always surrounded by predators, but can camouflage into the grass and trees. It'll try to stand still, but can't help but shake. Thankfully, this makes it look like a twig dancing in the wind, heightening the illusion. If its camouflage fails, its last resort is to bob from side to side, a feeble attempt at intimidating its enemies. It more successfully scares its enemies with its high-pitched cries. If it's able to successfully poke its foe with its antenna, its confidence will be boosted tremendously. When this Pokemon becomes tired of its anxious life, it will seek to become stronger and begin to train. Here's its shiny. I really hope this is another example of a cute Pokemon people will fall in love with. I try to make each Pokemon feel like a character, and I think this one succeeds. It's relatively abundant in the region starting from Route 1. It may be the first Pokemon you encounter in Asone. Now it's time for it to evolve. It'll be an upright noodle with a headband, and the fabric that dangles at the back of a headband will also be its antenna. It'll begin to have more protective padding that'll eventually become the underwear and supersuit of its evolved form. I decided to make the headband a mask as well, since this Pokemon will become a vigilante. His eyes are still stylized like they're crying, because while it's fearless, it's still emotional and tries to hide its tears. That's why one eye is closed. I made it a bit angrier and gave it more of a karate aesthetic, but it's definitely not there yet. It's too simple looking. I gave it more dimension and interesting shapes, but that definitely unnecessarily complicated things, so I simplified the padding a bit, and I finally decided to make the mask look more like headgear, and made its mouth look more tough, but still gave it the feeling like it's trying to hold back tears after getting punched. Some leaf-like wings that are beginning to sprout, and diagonal lines that make it look like it's wearing a gi and wearing bandages, but they're made of natural materials like bark and silk. The bandages really do make it look more interesting, but let's still simplify it a tiny bit more. It's going to have more of a brown color like an actual stick, and now it has both the thematic colors of the grass and fighting type. The brown will be redder in the final art, so it transitions better with the bright colors of its final evolution. At level 13, Twug evolves into Stickid, from Stick, Kid, and Wicked in slang form. It's a bug fighting type known as the counter Pokemon. After beginning to rigorously train, Stickit has successfully made a name for itself. It fights back no matter the strength of its foe. It will never run away from a bully, but will begin to tear up when in a tight spot. It tries its best to fight those tears. It will seek out predators to put them in their place. It loves defending tiny Pokemon even though it's often tinier than the Pokemon it protects. It effectively uses punches and kicks and wears padding as hard as a firm tree. It wraps itself in soft bark to heal its wounds. To surprise enemies, it will quickly eject its underdeveloped wings. Their size and color may not intimidate its foes, but its enemies will be startled for enough time to quickly jab them in a vital spot. Here's its shiny. I hope you find this one endearing. Middle stages are the hardest to make because they have to be a natural transition between the concept of the first and final stage while still being appealing. I hope it doesn't look too much like a final evolution. I have to make it long considering it's a stick bug, so it was tough trying to still make it look like a teen and not a fully formed adult. Now I'm basically starting by drawing the shapes and silhouette of a jacked superhero, definitely taking most of my inspiration from All Might, but obviously Superman is the OG inspiration. The antennas will be like stylized hair, one eye will be open and his smile will be perpetual, but there's no shape to the head so I gave him this shape, but it looks like a human so I made the mouth more bug-like. We're gonna literally make the body of a superhero and slowly turn it into that of a bugged-themed superhero. And again, this thing is supposed to be wide, cause it's ironic. I gave it a leaf symbol on its chest like a logo, but also thematic with its stick bug origin. It finally has those golden age underwear. He'll skip leg day, but at least one part of him is still lanky like a stick bug. It'll have colorful wings like a lot of winged stick bugs have, but it'll also look like a cape. Now I'm turning the spikes that stick bugs have on their limbs into the spikes that some superheroes like Batman have on their gloves and boots, finalizing the thorax and making the proportions less humanoid before making the abdomen less empty. It still looks like the body of a human, so I'm adding more spikes and taking out the details that make it look like a human anatomy. It'll be bright and colorful like some stick bugs, but the base colors are still that of grass and wood, almost like he's wearing a redwood suit. Very nice. And finally, Phasmask is here! From the scientific name for stick bugs, masculine and mask, the superhero Pokemon. After its foes have grown tougher, this Pokemon has evolved into a powerful warrior that fights for the good of all Pokemon. It'll spring into action whenever it hears a cry using its antennas and can punch its enemies into the horizon. Its bright colors disorient its foes and act as a bright beacon of hope. It can expertly jump, climb, and fly. It uses its wings to intimidate while wearing a permanent smile in order to reassure those it saves. It's very emotional and will cry tears of joy whenever it overcomes huge obstacles. These Pokemon will stand by and support trainers who fully commit to acts of good. A certain other bug-type Pokemon in Asone is their arch-enemy. Here's its shiny. It's clearly a heavily offensive Pokemon. It has the abilities Justified and Guts, with the hidden ability No Guard. I really hope this Pokemon doesn't look too humanoid. I mean, that's kind of the point. It's supposed to be buff and wide as a juxtaposition to its stick bug origins. I love stuff like that. We've needed a Pokemon like this for a long time. Now it's time to make the Dark-type nemesis of the Phasmask line. But before I begin, I do want to remind you guys that while I will be using my own money to get extra art for the region, like maps and some other characters, but all the income that I will get from Patreon and memberships on YouTube will go to getting all the extra cool stuff that'll make this Asone video series way better, like custom music, voice acting for the story-related video, and more. So consider becoming a patron or YouTube member if you want to make the series as good as it could possibly be. Now, a bug that is often seen as an antagonist in Middle Eastern folklore is the grasshopper. When swarming, locusts can destroy an entire nation. So how about we make a grasshopper that travels in packs and eats crops? These Pokemon will bully Twug, which makes Twug begin to train and become a Stickid. And once Stickid starts fighting back, this tiny grasshopper that we will make will evolve into a more stealthy and sinister Pokemon. Many people, including myself, want an assassin Pokemon in my region, based on the Middle Eastern Order of Assassins, where we, literally get the name assassin from. They are erroneously called Hashashins and go undercover for years and assassinate enemies of the state, usually with a dagger. And what better Pokemon to become an assassin than a covert grasshopper that jumps out of anywhere and attacks? So let's first make this Grassassin and work backwards. So we're going to make the final evolution first, and then go and make the Prevo after finalizing the final stage. Let's go! So we're going to start by making a grasshopper that is in the classic assassin pose. Its claws will be daggers, and its head will be in the shape of a headscarf. The flowing fabric is actually its antenna, a nice thing that ties both families together. It'll have huge eyes, but I really want to make the balaclava mouth covering its actual mouth. And the mandibles of a grasshopper are pretty iconic, so combining the mouth of a grasshopper and the mouth covering of an assassin makes sense. I'm just going to keep at it until I feel like I made a satisfying combination of grasshopper face and assassin face. I think this is kind of where I want it to be. A hybrid between a grasshopper mouth, old-timey mustache, and balaclava. The thorax of a grasshopper will be combined with the shirt and armor of an assassin, and now I'm just making all the elements clearer. patterns that'll disorient its foe, and literal dagger hands, like a backward scyther hand, since these scythes face away from its body, spots reminiscent of a desert locust spots, and camel print. Even the stripes it has are similar to the stripes on a desert grasshopper. And then, finalizing the proportions, it'll have the colors of various grasshoppers, especially the ones in Middle Eastern climates, as well as some navy to help with night stealth. The final version will be a bit more saturated, but let's make its pre-evolved form first, before showing the final artwork. We're making a round and tinier grasshopper wearing a thieves scarf. He'll have more of a thief aesthetic compared to its assassin evolution. The antennas are literal antennas, but still look like the tail end of a scarf that is tied around its head. I wanted to give it a mouth, but then had the idea to make the face scarf its mouth by giving it patterns. It'll have a huge jaw, which makes sense. This is how it eats crops so quickly, almost like a machine. Finalizing pads on its abdomen and making the long hopping legs. The tip of its feet are super sharp knives, and since there are no room for actual hands, I thought that the wings would act like the daggers it has in its evolved form. The colors are just more saturated versions of its evolved form's colors, and behold! Hopinch, from grasshopper, pinch as in to steal, and to pinch, as well as the word inch, because it's very small, but not exactly an inch, it's more like 8 inches. A bug dark type known as the Locust Pokemon. Hopinch travel in swarms and will devour entire fields in minutes. They use their giant mandibles to instantly chop wheat and use their sharp points, feet, and posable wings to slice enemies. Their color usually changes over time to adapt to their environment. Individually, they're still rather powerful. They will jump out and surprise prey, attacking them with one of the many weapons they possess on their body. They obviously have the ability Swarm. They can be found starting from Route 2. They evolve at level 28 into Grassassin, the covert Pokemon. After the enemies it has antagonized grew stronger, it trained in the art of stealth and became a skilled assassin. They work alone to take down enemies 10 times their size. In the past, these Pokemon were sent on missions to secretly take down entire nations. They will hide for an excruciating amount of time, and strike at the right moment using their sharp dagger-like claws. They work best at night, considering their vision is superb in the dark. They can jump 100 feet in any direction, and will thrust their claws into the enemy without any hesitation. They have the ability to fly, but rarely use their flight on mission, as the beating of their wings is extremely noisy. Phasmask are known to occasionally interfere with their missions. Here's their shiny. They have the ability Inner Focus and Tough Claws with the hidden ability Steadfast. They're very strong and fast, but not the hardest to take down. A lot of people wanted me to include an assassin Pokemon in Asone, and I'm glad I could finally make one that makes sense, has lore related to the region, and another Pokemon. I hope this Pokemon looks natural, both grass hopping and assassinating. I'm a huge fan of the bandana antenna and balaclava that looks like a mouth and mustache. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. Make sure to check out the previous art video and let me know which animal or concept you'd like to see in the Asone region. Consider becoming a patron or clicking the join button to get cool rewards like seeing videos days early, and a huge discount on the t-shirts I made for you guys. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram where I will post the full artwork of these Pokemon, and bye!